As we come to the second part of our podcast on Rabbi Eliyahu's discussion of Herzl, we're coming down to the question of how does Zionism come to resolve the question of the Jews? Is Zionism the solution, or is it perhaps a different solution, which is better than Zionism? And Rabbi is going to discuss anti-Semitism. And what's fascinating in Rabbi Eliyahu is what he doesn't say. Why he doesn't say it? He doesn't say halacha b'yadois of Son Eliyahu. He has a very, very different approach, very similar to a secular approach. Let's see it. He says, and this is page Peches, the last paragraph. It's really only the second paragraph of the page. First page is a very long, single paragraph. Towards the bottom of the page. When I want to come to answer those on one side, those who reject Zionism because they have an idea of the general salvation of mankind. The idea that Judaism does not need its own separate ism, whatever utopianism, whatever ideals will save the mankind, will save Judaism as well. So when I come to answer the one side, those who find for us a salvation, a healing in some general worldwide idea. As I say like this. Sinas Amim we saw the detestation of the nations for Israel, which has merited its own unique term in the European dictionary, anti-Shemius, anti-Semitism. Has spread its roots down into all the layers of mankind. It's become part of the psychology of the nations of the world. It's almost in a natural sense. Why is that? So again, this is what you expected. Right? No. Because obvious facts. Which continue generation to generation, have demonstrated the Chumash anybody is not Jewish. The Zion of any nation that he be from. Jews are almost a unique race in mankind. Yerud Yoser, more lower down in the scale. Shafar Yoser, more downtrodden. Kishchorim, as had been throughout human history, the blacks before the whites. As the Ethiopians were before the Europeans. Do not forget. For hundreds of years, we bore as a sign of disgrace on being on being a Jewish, Tavim Tzuvim, yellow tags, which of course the Nazis brought back in the form of the yellow star. Europa, Africa, and all of Europe and Africa. When a Christian or Muslim mother wanted to silence her child, they saw Merislo, she would say to him, Hatishtok, are you going to be so quiet? Below? If not, Yovom Satan, immediately there will come the devil with the yellow tag, and will kidnap you. While indicating at the time she was threatening her child with this fate, showing outside a window, a Jew passing in the street. When that child grew a little bit, he saw that the yellow devil is not as terrible. Like his mother depicted him. When we saw always the non-Jewish child playing in the street, the Jew always swerved to the side. Zahav with his yellow patch, his yellow tag, with a frightened look, of a gav kafuf, and with a bent back. So the child drew the innocent child drew the proper conclusion. He can pick up a stone, We spoke Satan and throw it at the head of the devil. Madulo Minas, Tare Satanu, he's a Satan. Mat is a devil, Matzar Yeshbaum. What purpose is there for him for the world? Because to say this logic was accepted in the entire non-Jewish world. Granted, there are a few exceptions, but this is so accepted. That when they had to send an edict from Rome not to kill Jews, they had to add an important logic to it, an important explanation. They have to remain alive. So that no promise can be fulfilled. That someday they will convert to the true religion. To this is added also the known reason, which is very Herzlian. The Jews have no place, land underneath their feet. In the full literal translation of this concept. They have no land. And they live from the ethereal mode of commerce. In this way, they absorb all the negative manifestations of this type of existence. They intrigus mishkios, which lead always to economic intrigue. It's part and parcel of doing business. And the hatred of them becomes greater and greater. So Rabbi, again, he's not using the theological explanation of Allah b'dois of Son Yaakov. If you accept that theology, not much Zionism can do. He's saying that it has to do with the low status of Jews throughout history and with their relegation to types of trades which generate suspicion. And therefore, there might be a solution to it. Through all this, the anti-Semitism became embedded in the general psychology of the nations of the world. By these facts, there became indwelling within them hatred, bazam, and even anger, banafashos in the souls. By the fact of our goals. By the fact that we are downtrodden. By the fact we lack land. We have generated this, not purposely, this animosity against us. And with facts one needs to fight. Only by facts. Not by thoughts and not by philosophies. There's a great principle in Gemara, Muvana Mokla, which has a deep meaning. And it very much deals or hits on the nose our problem. Maaseh motzi miyad maaseh. A deed can change the status of a deed. Something which a guy says by a deed, by a maisa, can have its status changed by a maisa, by another deed. But a thought cannot change the status of something which came about through a deed. You have to have a full maisa in order to change a maisa, not a machshava. All those new world orders, Asher, which is a term which is rolled out often on occasions when people want to claim they have a chiddush, a new world they want to introduce. Which the great universal ideals have are attempting some arrogance. Litziamer means to be a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm missing the word right now, which I want to use. A little bit pretentious. That's the word. To bring to the world, they are only thoughts. You need to have leaders for humanity. But the leader cannot reckon with all that he thinks in his soul. יחשב כפי שיתבע ממנו הצדק, יחשב כפי שיתבע ממנו הצדק, he should reckon things as general justice demands of him. I'm not sure I translated that line so well. The bottom line thing he says is that he has to take action, not just have high thoughts, not just describe high plans and high ideals. He's born let every Jew look at his local enemies. Shumakiram, who he knows, he knows their names. Hasanim also, Bashar Yudi, those hating because he's Jewish. Kumi Elishonim Besinasam Lo, will they change in their hatred of him? Aideshi Shtaneh Mishtar by the change of government, even to a new, beautiful, new world order government in their town? Lo, no. I'll give you a short parable. Mishpat Belus, it's a Tsaristim. It's actually two. the Belus trial by the Tsarist in Tsarist Russia, the blood libel trial, last famous one. Mishpat Dreyfus, it's a Republicanim, and the Dreyfus trial by the Republicans, by the French Republic. Mayavdel, what's the difference? Hasina Elenu Nimnes, the hatred for us is counted. Hodos historios because of the historical facts. Shemilu chader alavavos, which penetrate deeply to the hearts. Alapsichika shel amim is counted among the psychologies of the nations in very vastly different societies. Tsarist Russia and Republican France. Us, we are detested by the children in their youth. Isha Das by the person of religion, Vidati Yisrael in his religion. Isha Meshach by the person of economics, which Yisrael in his economics. Hamidani by the diplomat, Yisrael in his diplomacy. Hamuchani by the monarchist, Yisrael in his monarchism. Republica in the Republican, Republicosio in his republicanism. Sometimes it takes another form. Psychis achasi, but it's one psychological hatred. Can only be eliminated because it's so powerfully entrenched. It can only be uprooted by powerful historic facts, mighty historic facts, which will work to oppose it. Asher son of those which will cause to be lost, erased from the world, those facts. From which this detestation springs forth. On this point, Zionism gets it, it understands. It wants to generate a counterfact, lagolus, an alternative fact, a counterfactual, so to speak. Counterfactuals are things which are not nowadays mean something which is against facts, but this is a counter fact, a fact which is going to stand opposite. Hello, kibbutz golios, the gathering of the exiles. Habayis Sulumi, the national homeland, Beberetz of the land of our forefathers. Duvda zuta kemin shosh is agudas halag she savay de. One looks back at Rabbi Avrohom is writing now and sees it as wishful thinking. We're over 100 years later, and things have not changed that much from the detestation which Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu pointed out. Particularly today, we're in the year close of the year 2024, and after October 7th, many nations of the world have not become sympathetic with us, but even less sympathetic. But now, there may be factual reasons for that. But it seems quite much more grounded in the psychology of the nations of the world, which is entrenched over millennia, as Rabbi Avrohom Eliyahu writes. So the idea at the time, in 1919, was that we can change all this. All this can be eliminated, eradicated by counter facts. This is not proven to be the case. But this case, he says that that's not able to do. It wants to create create a fact. Uproot from the root. Agadas Lag, the legend of mockery, she's by the Golos, which has come back to Golos. Idea Nitzki Shenom say Apam Makom Nuchabolam, the this legend of the wandering Jew who never finds any place in the world. Nodek is Satan Para and just wanders as a never finds respite. He just wanders as a wild devil. And just Mr. Max Zionism is pragmatic. It doesn't rely on some universal ideal. In this respect, Zionism perhaps has succeeded. In other words, okay, you know what? We're not going to resolve world anti-Semitism, but we're going to get a land where the anti-Semitism will not be operative. That's true. That Eretz Israel has succeeded. The state of Israel has succeeded in creating. That's a tremendous accomplishment. I don't think that's all Rabbi Avrohom wanted, but because he's looking to resolution of anti-Semitism, but as a pragmatic solution for a specific place that has happened. But then that disrespect. Mr. Metzi Akrak Litzorz Uvdog the law Shashivas Arts who wants to create just the great fact of the return to Eretz Yisrael. Ha'ama Yehudi, the Jewish nation, Nosei Dial Elokia Godol B'Yoser, which bears the greatest divine ideal. Nichsazei Yoser Midai has been disappointed too many times. And they call ideologim olamim hagdolim by all the great universal ideologues. Ashiftichlos promised them this consolation. But 2 minutes yet removed from them the soul. Imunol Mashal, and he gives an example. The idealist, Hashoev Bitusha Keseminola, tells the idealist who wants to eliminate money from the world. She was Rishonas that he should be the first one to throw away his few coins. He'll answer you correctly. Ideals are ideals. I'm going to work for them. So I have to survive for the time being. Based on current life forms. So I need the money for my sustenance. The Zionist can have whatever ideal he wants. He's going to work for his entire life. But he knows that it's different. He can't live in Golus. In other words, the person who's striving for um, the universal salvation. Going back to the line which says, I think the way that I should have translated is that these great ideals promise the world, the consolation, but in the meantime, they take away the neshama. They can't live that way, and they don't live that way. That's not going to work with Zionism. Zionism has to be operative immediately because the situation in Golus is unbearable. I can't say, yes, I'm a Zionist, in the meantime I live in Golus. Now, of course, we are Americans. As Americans or other affluent Western societies, perhaps to a lesser extent, Americans can be Zionists. The famous joke is that a Zionist is a person who gets another person to give money to Israel. So, but the point is that it's not at 1919, and certainly for many years afterwards, that was not a possibility for most Jews on earth. I guess a lot of Jews are already in America, but we can't even short term can't make goals. He can't wait for all the next world to do tshuva. And be good and kind. Anybody who looks carefully at the history of the world, no chachladas will come to the realization. It's never going to happen. Individuum enoshi, unless there is a religious upheaval in the neshama of the not sure what individual means. I'll probably Latin term with which I'm not familiar. It doesn't mean individuals. Yes, it actually is a word. It's probably it can have the meaning of a single individual thing, but it also means an indivisible entity. So that we're in. So the indivisible entity of mankind has to, as a unit, has to undergo a change. Which we hope for, which we yearn for. There's a Mashiach. But we're not being messianics, which of course is a big thing because there are many people who would only look for resolutions like this in some messianic form. But we're not looking for that right now. That's something which is up to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And we can't wait for those distant times. In order to survive, a love lagia, the Zionist has to reach also Uvda Shivas Arts, that fact of return to land now. Asher El, which will put into power, as called on of Dosaner Oshakad Mula, actually, Tasim will defeat with its strength all those terrible facts Shakad Mula which preceded. It's called Masim Shakad Mula, all those deeds which preceded. Which don't allow us to survive. How do we obtain this? On this, the first part of my answer, the first part of my words respond. For social Herzl, on the appearance of Herzl so and of Zionism, as the emissaries of Am Yisrael in international diplomacy. That's the one side. Anti people who rely on universal ideals, it ain't going to work. Perhaps at some future time, but right now we need the solution right now with facts, with change, the facts on the ground. What about the other side? And now I come to my opponents from the other side. Me personally, I have the opportunity to find myself in their circles very often. And sovereign those who hold those who don't need any special organizations. In order to resolve a Jewish question. All we need is to be Jewish and keep the Torah. And we don't have to be involved at all in resolving the question of our golos in general. There are those who say, and they are a small number, but there are those who say, that it's forbidden to do this. But for them, I can't give an answer today, to my regret. This is going to have to talk and learning. To bring evidence and rejections to the Gemara. In this speech, which is much more exhortation than sheer, that's not Avrohom intent. Obviously, this is before the Satmar Rebbe became prominent on the scene, but of course, they were and I'm not, perhaps even the Munkacher Rebbe is not yet operative, but obviously, forces have been opposing Zionism, including the Yishuv, since the mid 19th century. So, we're people to whom to respond, but this is not the forum for Rabbi Avrohom to respond to those religious anti-Zionist forces, only to those religious non-Zionist forces, which not try to prove it from as an Isser, but felt it was unnecessary because we have our connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that's okay. Everything will be okay. Shall mean those who say, even though it's permissible to seek to restore substance Israel, there's no need to be involved in it. All we have to do is be Jews. And there is who is concerned with our existence. The Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't fall asleep. He's not sleeping. He's the one who sustains us. And I agree with them that there is he who is concerned. Not just because the pasuk says so. And it's told us Yisrael but rather because we learn Jewish history. Any open eye sees over the crossings of several openings to the grave, to 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 annihilation. Over several abysses. These diamond we have been able to, we have traversed many of them in our pathways. We're always one step often, we are one step away from destruction. Whether it was physical or spiritual. The comedy something is kind of in the voice Yeshaya, and how much was there verified and sustained to prove in the voice Yeshaya. If you pass the water, I'm with you. Rivers will not sweep you away. If you go in the midst of fire, you will not be burnt. Flame will not burn in you. Because I am God your Lord. The Holy of Israel, Mashiach, who redeems you. So yeah, that hand, which sustains us. Yeshua, which brings us salvation, who suddenly flows and does miraculous things for us, wonders for us. Kula Pele. But isn't all of Zionism remarkable? Was it not until just a few years ago? Utopia, no more than a dream, a utopian dream. Obishnas Tuf Reish Ayin Gimel, 1913. Kosaba Tzioni Anoda Franz Bodenheimer. Must have been Noda in 1919, but not to me anymore. A well-known Zionist Franz Bodenheimer wrote, Kadvarim as follows: Ein af Tzioni Navon Echad. There's no wise Zionist. V'cholam kol in the entire world. Shomar, who will see, Kiroehu, and he sees, as the footsteps of Medina Sayudim Hayuda of the state of the Jews, of the future state of the Jews. But in his heart he knows he's compelled to strive towards it. 1913. Say to me, Mises Iraq es Hargoshas Hechreach Hazel Tochli Bosenu. Who is he who through is not force enough term, who pushed, maybe need a better term, the sense of that this is compelling, that we must pursue this into our hearts, especially at that time in 1913 when it was totally unrealistic. He is who is he who gave us this lofty preparation for this epic, which now in 1919, after the First World War, with the advent of the mandate, is beginning upon us. Do you not sense the movement of the hidden hand of divine providence? This is something which I never understood. How can I once not see divine providence in history? How can I once see that there is, whatever you think of the Zionists, but the idea of Zionism, of the return to Eretz Yisrael, how can you not see? How could the anti-Zionists not see that this is Ratzon Hashem, obvious and clear? We might mess up, but isn't this where Hashem wants us to go? Isn't Hashem putting this like the drive into us? I know. Just that was necessary. It was compelling that should come about the renewal, the resurrection of the national spirit of the Jewish people. Over the end, it's necessary, it's imperative, it is compelling, it will obviously happen in the final analysis. But see, built in the line in the future, perhaps it can't be seen by the naked eye at this point in 1919. The revival, the resurrection of the spirit of our Torah. We see that too, especially, of course, in Eretz Yisrael. Happen to a lesser extent in America as well, but in Eretz Yisrael, the Torah is above and beyond anything it's been since probably even the period of Tanoim. Many chesroides, but that Tchias HaTorah, that's clearly taking place in front of us. It has taken place for many years already. Kisui Avim Afkasha Torah Seder. The horizon of our Torah is covered with clouds. Vod Yoser, even more so, Afkasha Mitzvoseh, the horizon of its mitzvahs. Shokukei Chaim Asholah, the practical application of the laws of life, which the Torah tells us to manifest in our ideal societies. It's left forsaken by the youth. Any it doesn't merit attention from the modern leaders of the generation. It sits with its head downturned, like a barren woman has give birth. It will give birth. Avrohom is not from the saying that Zionism itself is a true movement. He's not Rav Kook. He's not taking that perspective. But he's saying Zionism is part of the Ratzon Hashem, and that's the national destiny coming back into manifestation. So too, eventually, the spiritual destiny will come to its manifestation. The phenomena will follow. One will follow each other, not the individuals. The individual Zionists might not be Bali Tshuva in some abstract form, but the movement is clearly a movement which comes from Kodesh Baruch Hu. We don't see the pathways. We don't see the footsteps. I know. Franz Bodenheim. I say Franz Bodenheim said at his time when even political Zionism was but a pipe dream. And then by 1919 it became reality. That this national rejuvenation of the Jewish spirit will also come, and I have to be compelled to work towards it. The God which returns us to Zion, Torah will bring us back to also to Torah from Zion. Ani Mamin, I believe. And I had to tell you, when I wrote an article on Avrohom in the past, at a certain time, I took out the last line in this in this essay because I was only writing excerpts. I didn't write the entire essay. You can only understand this last line in the context of the entire essay. The greater my emunah grew in God, there grew my connection to Zionism. Again, one has to first understand what Zionism is according to Avrohom and what its place is in Ratzon Hashem and what its place is in history, in order to understand what he means by Shaykhus to Zionism. Not that he has a rosy view of Zionism, but how he sees that this idea of the return to Eretz Yisrael and actively working towards it is part of Ratzon Hashem. Not that we see Zionists as Bali Tshuva in some abstract way, like I said before, but they are on the right track. And we have to get on the right track. The right track was to return to Eretz Yisrael, and the right track also, in order to eliminate anti-Semitism, as he thought at the time, which I don't know if we'd agree today, but as I said before, if not to eliminate the idea of anti-Semitism, at least to produce a land which is safe from anti-Semitism, not safe from other deficits, but safe from anti-Semitism. For that, you need Zionism. And that is what Herzl gave us. Herzl gave us the idea of the striving, even when it seems impossible, for national rejuvenation, renewal of national destiny, and that will lead eventually to renewal of our Torah destiny.